Okay, so maybe you're thinking about finally trying out chiropractic care. Huh. Well, good for you. That's awesome that you're taking charge of your health like that.
Yeah.
We're here to, kind of help you navigate all the info out there. Because, and let's be real, there's a ton of myths and misconceptions when it comes to chiropractic care.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what? Those misconceptions could even be holding you back from getting some real relief.
It's so true. People hear things, and it's easy to just kind of go with what everyone else is saying, even if there's not much to back it up.
Exactly. So today we're going to do a deep dive. We'll be checking out information from Oliver Chiropractic Wellness Clinic in Edmonton, which is perfect if you're in that area, right?
Definitely.
We're talking separating the facts from the stuff that's just not true, so you can make the best choices for your health.
And it's interesting, how chiropractic care sometimes gets labeled as this alternative medicine thing.
Yeah.
And that can make it seem like it's not as, I don't know, as legitimate as traditional medicine, which isn't the case at all.
Right. Like chiropractors are just out there cracking bones all day, which, let's be clear, is not what's happening.
Not even close. Chiropractic care is all about really understanding the musculoskeletal system. Basically, that's your bones, muscles, tendons, ligaments, all the stuff that holds you together. And these chiropractors, they go through a ton of training, years of it, to learn how it all works and how to fix it when things get out of whack.
So I'm curious, when we hear adjustment, what are we actually talking about?
So a chiropractic adjustment means they're using controlled force on a specific joint, usually in the spine. And the goal there is to get it back into alignment so you can move better, and it can really help with pain, too.
Okay, so it's not just some random bone cracking session. It's
Yeah.
way more precise than that. It's about getting your body back to how it's supposed to work.
Exactly. And this is where you run into another myth, that it's all in your head, just the placebo effect.
Ah, yes. The placebo effect.
Yeah.
It seems to come up a lot with treatments that are about the body healing itself. But, is there anything to that with chiropractic care?
Well, Oliver Chiropractic actually addresses this straight on. They talk about all these studies that debunk that myth. They're big on pointing out that it's based on science, actual research.
So there are studies, it's not just people saying, oh, this worked for me, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. We're talking like legit medical journals publishing studies about how well it works for different things, especially back pain, which, let's face it, so many people struggle with.
That's good to hear, because it does seem like people really find relief with it.
They do.
It's not just some trend. But okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, because I know it's on everyone's mind.
Yeah,
Is it actually safe? Is chiropractic care dangerous?
I get it. It's a big question, and when you're talking about your spine, it makes sense to be a little cautious.
For sure.
But honestly, when it's done by someone who's licensed and knows what they're doing, it's really safe. In fact, Oliver Chiropractic, they actually say it can be safer than taking pain meds long term.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because painkillers, they're not really fixing the problem,
Right.
just covering it up.
Exactly. And they can really mess you up in other ways, all those side effects.
Oh, totally. And don't even get me started on the risk of getting hooked on them. So, if you're weighing the pros and cons, chiropractic sounds like it might be the safer way to go a lot of the time.
It's definitely worth considering. And look, I'm not going to lie, no medical procedure is completely without risk, right? But the research is showing that with chiropractic, those risks are pretty small, especially compared to like surgery or popping pills for years.
Makes sense. So we talked about safety, but now I got to ask the question I know is on everyone's mind. Am I going to be in pain?
The million-dollar question. Oliver Chiropractic, they admit that, yeah, you might feel a little discomfort, especially if you've been dealing with something for ages.
So it's more like your body getting used to things being different, not that the adjustment itself hurts.
Exactly. Think of it like when you work out a muscle you haven't used in forever.
Oh, yeah.
You're sore after, but it's a good sore. Your body's like, hey, we're doing something here.
Love that analogy. So it's not like people should go in expecting to be in agony afterwards. More like just be aware that your body might need a minute to adjust.
Right, and everyone's different. Some people, bam, relief right away. Others, it's more gradual. The key is talk to your chiropractor. Let them know how you're feeling.
Communication is so key with any kind of healthcare.
Absolutely. And that reminds me, chiropractic care, it's not just for us grown-ups. It can be amazing for kids, too.
Really? I never even thought about that. How does that work? How can it help kids?
Well, think about it. Kids are growing like crazy all the time, right? Puts a lot of stress on those little spines.
Yeah, right.
Chiropractic can make sure everything's lining up like it should, prevent issues later on.
So it's like preventative care for kids, keeping their bodies on track as they grow.
Exactly. And it's not just about preventing stuff, it can actually help with things that are already happening. Ear infections, colic, even trouble sleeping for babies and kids.
Wow, I had no idea. So it's not even just about back pain. It's like their whole well-being as they grow.
You got it. And the adjustments they do on kids, way gentler, obviously, tailored to what their little bodies need.
That makes me feel better. I was picturing, those intense adjustments you see athletes get, and I was like, there's no way a kid.
No, no, no. Chiropractors who work with kids, they have special training for that. It's all about gentle adjustments, get everything in the right place so it functions right.
Good to know. So, parents out there, if your little ones are having any of those issues we were just talking about, this could be an option. Obviously, like with anything medical, talk to a professional first, right? See if it's a good fit for your kid.
For sure. You know, one thing people always ask is, isn't it expensive?
Yeah, there's that assumption that it's only for, like, rich people.
Total myth. Oliver Chiropractic talks about this directly. They say it's actually really cost effective, especially compared to like having surgery or taking meds forever.
Which makes sense if you think about it. If you can stop the problem at the source, you might not need those more expensive things down the road.
Exactly. And they even give you numbers. They say chiropractic costs about 90% less than a typical back surgery.
90%, that's
It
huge,
puts it in perspective, right?
for sure. So even if you're worried about the cost, it's got to be worth looking into. See what your insurance covers. And speaking of Oliver Chiropractic, we've been mentioning them a lot. What makes them different, like especially for people in Edmonton?
Well, from what I've seen, they seem really big on patient care, making sure you understand what's going on. Their website does a great job of clearing up all those myths we talked about, which tells me they're not trying to hide anything. They want you to be informed.
I love that. Transparency is so important. Builds trust.
Totally. And they don't just do adjustments. They offer massage, acupuncture, even shockwave therapy.
Whoa, so they're really going for that whole body approach.
They're not messing around. And they're super involved in the community there in Edmonton. You can tell from their blog and social media. They seem really passionate about what they do.
That's always a good sign. So for our Edmonton listeners, Oliver Chiropractic Wellness Clinic sounds like a good place to start if you're thinking about chiropractic. And for everyone else, remember there are awesome chiropractors everywhere. Do a little digging online, find one that feels right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we covered a lot today. We busted myths, looked at the good stuff, really got into it with chiropractic care. But before we wrap up, you mentioned how collaborative it is. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, totally. I think one of the coolest things about chiropractic is that it's really about the relationship between you and the chiropractor. It's not just, here's your treatment, see ya. It's about you being a part of getting better.
So it's not passive.
Yeah.
You're not just showing up for appointments. You're like an active participant in your own well-being.
Yes, a good chiropractor, they're going to want to hear all about it. What are your worries? What's your health history? And then they work with you, figure out a plan that makes sense for you, your goals, all of that.
Teamwork. You're not just the patient. You're like a partner in your own healthcare.
Exactly. And honestly, that can be so empowering. You're in control. You get to make these decisions about your body.
I love that. Taking back your health.
Yes.
And you know what's cool? Since chiropractic cares about your body healing itself, it can work really well with other things you might be doing for your health.
Oh, for sure.
It's not like pick one thing and stick with it. It's about finding what works for you.
Absolutely.
Like you can do adjustments,
Yeah.
but also massage, physical therapy, acupuncture, all sorts of things.
Exactly. It's like they all work together, make each other even better,
Yeah.
Really helps your body do its thing.
This has been so interesting. We busted those myths, looked at what's good about it, really got into the nitty-gritty of chiropractic. But before we go, I want to leave everyone with something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about how this is all about your body's natural ability to heal, right?
Right.
What else in your life could benefit from that kind of approach?
Ooh, that's a great question. Makes you think bigger picture.
Totally. Like instead of just putting a Band-Aid on things when they're wrong, what if we helped our bodies do what they're meant to do?
Right.
Love it. Well, this deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about. Hopefully you guys feel the same way, like you want to learn more about chiropractic. Remember, knowing more about your body, knowing your options, that's how you make the best choices for your health. And hey, if you're in the Edmonton area, definitely check out Oliver Chiropractic Wellness Clinic. Sounds like a great place to start.
They really do.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning.